never played Dragon Age. I never played KOTOR. I never played Kingdom Hearts. I never played Final Fantasy. I only ever played Skyrim and a bit of Oblivion. I only played Fallout 4 and Fallout 3. I never finished Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. I never played Wind Waker or any other Zelda before Twilight Princess. I've never watched Friends, and neither did I watch The Office, or many other pieces of important pop culture media.
Ladies, gentlemen, everything in between and neither. Today I thought I would be waiting for the day 1 patch to download so I could play the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Well, I couldn't get my hands on the game on release day in stores near me, and now I have to wait for it to be delivered. Do I feel like I'm missing out? No, because luckily I experienced the series many times when it initially released. Am I jealous of all the people who get to play it in crisp HD? Yes, but I'm also happy for them. So actually, let's go and talk about the fear of missing out. My fear of missing out on certain things. But before we get into the video, feel free to follow me on my social media on Instagram and Twitter, just like my channel name. And now let's get into the video. And to start the video, I just want to say I have surrounded myself with a pretty positive and good social media bubble, so I am never made to feel bad about not having played certain games or having watched certain movies or shows. So that's great. So it's cool. Those people are like never, oh my god, how can you not have experienced this? How? They might passionately recommend this stuff, but that's about it. But even though I'm never made to feel like that I'm missing out by the people I surround myself with online, I still feel like I should have played certain games. I could try to get into those games, but that would mean a lot of time and money to get those games and to get into them. And even though I could make the time, there's still the issue with the money, and I'm not willing to spend money on something that I might end up not enjoying. And that's the trouble. And with movies and TV shows, it's the same. They would need to be on a streaming service that I'm subscribed to. I'm not willing to get into any other streaming service unless I get like a shit ton of extra money that I could just use for that. So no. And also I'm not willing to get stuff on DVD or whatever without knowing if I would like them. Sure, there's like digital renting of movies and TV shows, but it's still a lot of time that you have to spend on that stuff. I mean, sure, I could just watch 1 or 2 episodes and be done with it, but that's not the real deal. And I always struggle to decide whether it's worth checking out or not. Let's take the show Friends, for example. I've never watched any episodes of that, and even though it's a big pop cultural phenomenon, I'm not sure if I want to check it out because I heard the show and lots of the jokes in the show aged poorly. And that there's especially one character that's really, really unlikable, and I'm not sure if I wanna suffer through watching such a thing. And with gaming, it's almost the same. I don't have any older siblings and not younger ones either. And therefore I got into gaming relatively late, at least what I consider to be late. It must have been around 12 years old or something, and my first game was Pokemon Fire Red on the Game Boy Micro. I didn't even have a Game Boy Advance that would have let me play the original Pokemon games if I somehow got my hands on them, which is a shame and really sad. And then I continued on with gaming because I got classmates and friends that were into gaming, and so I got introduced to that world. My first console was the PlayStation 2, which I at first only had like some Looney Tunes game for, because I was still too young to play some other games. I mean, it must have been around like 14 or something. I played lots of Naruto brawlers. They were pretty cool, and my first GTA game was on the PlayStation 2 with GTA San Andreas, and I enjoyed it a lot and it was fun. But even back then, even though I had the PlayStation 2, which had like probably a lot of games that were probably in the list of games that I've mentioned that I haven't played, but back then I wasn't as deep into the gaming community as I am now, and even now I'm not deep into the gaming community, and therefore I maybe don't find out about certain games existing until there's like a lot of talk about. And like there's some games that are in my I have never played it and I probably should backlog. For example, like Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, and I could try my hands on them, like I have my 3DS right here, but I'm not sure if the trouble I have with the controls are just specific to the 3DS, or if they're like problems that are problems of the game, and I don't know if they maybe would be fixed in a Switch port, which I really would like to see. And I have a lot of trouble getting into those games. They seem pretty cool. I enjoy The Legend of Zelda. It's fun, but I somehow have trouble getting into those two titles. And that makes me feel weird, like I'm missing something that should be something that I should experience. And same with Final Fantasy. Thanks to PlayStation Plus, I now have the Final Fantasy VII remake on my PlayStation 4 saved, and I'm a little bit afraid of getting into it because, hey, if I don't like it, I could just stop playing and delete it. Gives me some space for other games. But the thing is, I have heard that the Final Fantasy VII Remake is more of an homage to the original game and more of a gift to old fans of the game rather than newcomers. Which I think is a problem. What if something is left too unclear for me to get that a fan of the original would understand? I have my trouble with that, and Final Fantasy is such a huge thing out there that I really feel like I should check it out. Same with older Elder Scrolls games, or some other Fallout games, like for example New Vegas. That's something that I would like to check out, but I'm not entirely sure if I could handle it, because even Fallout 3 was a bit icky for me in the controls, and maybe I'm just a spoiled new generation brat that can't pick up any retro game. Maybe that's my damage, I don't know. But I just feel like there's some games that I feel like I have to check out, but I'm just afraid to invest money that I don't have for things that I could potentially not like. Yes, I could resell them, but that's also a lot of effort and trouble I don't want to get into. And I don't know, it's really hard, and I really feel like I'm missing out, and I shouldn't have to miss out. There's Let's Plays that I could watch, but some games are really better to experience playing them yourself. For example, choice-based games. There's always like one bit when you're watching a Let's Player play a choice-based game that you feel like you would have done differently. And as you know, I'm a big advocate of saying, hey, you don't have to have consumed every single bit of media that's out there from a certain thing to call yourself a fan. But I think sometimes that's a little harder to convey than other times. For example, Red Dead Redemption has only 2 entries, 3 if you count the Undead Nightmare DLC of the first game, and maybe 4 if you count Red Dead Revolver, but from what I've heard, it's more of a standalone title that's not necessary to the Red Dead Redemption series. So that's just a tiny bit that you can take and say, hey, I enjoy this. And there's a lot, or for example, I would consider myself a BioWare fan, even though I've never touched a single Dragon Age game, and I feel like I should try my hands on Dragon Age, since I enjoy fantasy and it's a BioWare game. Like, it's basically Mass Effect but fantasy, which seems pretty cool. I should like it. I mean, I did try my hand on it. I think it was Inquisition? I think it was Inquisition. And there was just a little bit, I don't know what it was, but I couldn't get my hand on it, really. I couldn't get into it, and I think that's sad, because Dragon Age is really highly praised among BioWare fans, and so is KOTOR, and I never got my hands on that. I think there's a remake out there, and maybe I should try myself on that, because I feel like I'm missing out and I don't want to. And there's always this voice that will say, yo, how can you call yourself a fan of that or this or that or gamer if you haven't played this or that? And I know that voice is stupid and I shouldn't listen to people who say such things, but I don't know, it's hard, and I'm gonna have to make my mind up on what I actually want to try. Maybe there's some possibilities that could open up for me to try certain things. Maybe a good service will come up and let me play stuff on consoles that are available to me. I hope that would be like the one thing that I could try out. PlayStation Now doesn't work for me because of my slow internet connection. I could only try downloadable titles on PlayStation Now, which is only a limited amount of games, and I don't like that. There's really cool games on PlayStation Now that I would love to play if they weren't for streaming only. That's a problem. And yeah, so that's my rambling on my fear of missing out. There's lots of things that I haven't played yet. Some of them are in my backlog. Some of them maybe will never make their way into my backlog because of whatever reason. And yeah, so comment down below what's the thing that you feel like you missed out on. Maybe movies, TV shows, or games, maybe book series. I've never read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Shame on me, I know. So comment down below. As I said, what do you feel like you're missing out on that's really important in your circle? Leave a like if you enjoyed this weird rant. Feel free to follow me on my social media on Instagram and Twitter at CommanderNici, just like my channel name. Subscribe if you haven't already, and until I figured out what I can upload next, watch my other stuff. Bye.